scene from the new documentary by social anthropologist Jan Bella. I'm Marta Wisdom, and you're watching Our Day. So, Jan, what did you want to achieve with this film?
I wanted to create a film about poverty and support the reality with EU statistics. This film focuses on a multi-dimensional measure called the At-Risk-of-Poverty-or-Social-Exclusion indicator. It's a combination of three different measures: income, material resources, and employment levels. You can imagine these as three circles. In the first circle here, poverty is defined by finding where a person with a low income stands relative to the middle income earner in their country. In 2010, 81 million people had incomes which were considerably lower than their fellow countrymen. This is a relative measure because it's based on comparisons. It's country-specific and changes over time. For example, the at-risk-of-poverty threshold for single-person households increased between 2009 and 2010 to 19,400 euros in Luxembourg and decreased to 1,222 euros in Romania. As you see here, 40 million were living in severely constrained conditions. This means they were unable to afford 4 out of 9 items identified on the EU list. These include examples such as the ability to pay rent and afford a holiday. As the list is a common standard for all EU countries, this makes the measure an absolute one. The third measure is about employment levels. This includes people who live in households where working-age members work less than 20% of their full potential. This was the case for 38 million people in 2010. We then combine the three measures to get one single number. So, in total, 116 million people, that's almost a quarter of the EU, were at risk of poverty or social exclusion in 2010. The three circles overlap, meaning that a person may be affected by 2 and even 3 factors. This last situation affects nearly 7.5 million people.
Well, the numbers certainly tell a story in themselves. You've mentioned the term social exclusion here. What do you mean by that?
Well, specifically in the EU, poverty and social exclusion go hand in hand. With regard to this indicator, social exclusion primarily means that a person is economically deprived of living a full social life. But in the EU, social exclusion can mean much more than economic shortages.
Well, I know your film explains it, so let's take a look and see what the statistics can tell us.
Maria is ill and would benefit from special treatment.
I've always thought as long as I have food and shelter, then I have everything I need. But now I feel if I wasn't so poor, then I'd receive better treatment.
Like Maria in 2010, about 2% of the EU believed their medical needs were not met because they couldn't afford it.
When Dad lost his job 2 years ago, we had to move to a smaller place, and I couldn't have my friends over anymore because Mum said there wasn't enough room. My parents couldn't invite their friends over either. My brother stopped going to school. He's dropped out now and taken a summer job.
For Eva's father, unemployment has changed his family's lives dramatically. He is one of the 3.9% of EU citizens who were long-term unemployed in 2010. Eva's brother is one of the 14% of young EU citizens in 2010 who dropped out of school early and didn't continue with any education or training. This has exposed him to a greater risk of unemployment and social isolation that is already happening to his family. According to statistics, poor people are twice as likely to be socially isolated. Poverty can easily become a vicious circle.
Thank you for sharing it with us, Jan. It's certainly a thought-provoking film.
Statistics help us understand the different facets of social exclusion, and because of its presence, when we talk about poverty in the EU, we're concerned with issues that go beyond just income. These include lack of access to jobs, education, and healthcare. With issues like social isolation, we're equally concerned with the way that damaged personal relationships can harm individual well-being.
In the film, poverty is described as a vicious circle. Is there ever an escape from this?
Yes, there can be, and I think statistics play a crucial role, because the right indicators help us make the right decisions. According to Eurostat, in the EU between 2005 and 2010, around 2 million people were lifted out of poverty and social exclusion every year. By 2020, this number should accumulate to 20 million at least. So we're on the right path towards sustainable development.